Let's talk about Bitcoin. What's up, guys? Good morning, July 10th, just past 8 a.m. here, Marbella, Spain, down in the harbor right now, standing by the big boys, by the big yachts here, or the big lady actually, Lady Aya in the background, you can see her. And yeah, just enjoying the sunrise as usual, looking at the Bitcoin charts. And the chart of the day today, the weekly chart. A massive weekly close coming up, another historic weekly close, and there's our main resistance. Everyone's talking about certain patterns on the smaller time frame, but I'm showing you where the exact resistance is coming from that we found, and that's on the weekly chart, of course. A moving average that I've been talking about since last year that was going to be our target for the bottom of Bitcoin. But before we go to the weekly chart, I'm going to start up at the largest time frame once again. I'm going to go into the monthly chart and show you a trend that potentially could get confirmed now, that's coming all the way back from 2019. Now, that's something we want to look at. That's very interesting. That's the most bullish scenario for Bitcoin. And then we go down into the smaller time frames. I look at the daily chart. There's some very interesting development as well. And then to see the most immediate price action, we go down to the 4-hourly chart. But before anything, guys, as always, thank you for watching, thank you for commenting, liking. Every engagement puts a big smile on my face. And if you're new to the channel, of course, hit subscribe and the bell to get notified with the Bitcoin price every single day, no matter where the market is going, up, down, or sideways. But actually, that's a lie. I just decided now, yesterday I didn't post a video already, and last week on Saturday either, I decided to take Saturdays off. I'm going to keep posting over on Twitter, so make sure to follow me over there as well, and on TradingView, so you guys always get short-term updates. And of course, if something crazy happens on a Saturday, which tends to be the most quiet day in the market, that's why I'm taking it off. I'll make sure to put out another video as well. But now, guys, let's dive into the charts. All right, guys, let's do this. Starting out here on the monthly chart, and of course, first thing I want to point out, let me remove the moving average for a second, is this massive falling wedge here that we could potentially be confirming the third touch point on the support right now. You can see we have our first touch point here in winter 2018-19, then our next touch point here, March 2020, of course, from when we went then to put in the 65 and 69K all-time highs, and now we're trying to confirm a third touch point here. This is of course the most bullish version here of the trend line on the monthly chart. There's another one where we have a perfect ascending channel that leads back to another touch point in 2017. But here, once again, this is the most bullish scenario for Bitcoin. So what we want to do here is hold the trend line. We have 3 weeks left, so there's not a problem if we wick down below it as we did here in March 2020, which I don't expect, of course. If we're holding this trend line, I think we're staying in the range that we're in right now and move up from there. If we start moving lower than the previous bottom, I see us going down to 14K and eventually even 10K, as I mentioned previously. But so far, my predicted bottom of 17,500 is holding up. Very important, of course. And then the other thing that I want to point out here is, of course, the 50-month SMA, the white moving average here. And you can see that has been extremely strong support historically. I'm just going to pull it back one more time here, and you can see we've never closed the candle below it. Here, this leads back all the way to 2014. And now, of course, we closed our very first candle below the 50-month SMA. Nonetheless, we still have a chance to rally straight back up here and make that just a little dip below, forget it, and continue on in this trend here. So this is very important. We have 3 weeks left, and to get back above the 50-month SMA, which is of course in line now with the 200-week SMA, our current strongest resistance. Guys, forget about all the people that are talking about certain patterns on smaller time frames, 4-hourly charts, daily charts and stuff. We don't have the volume for that. Even if we have continuation patterns in the charts now, like a symmetrical triangle or bull flag that's forming that I'll show you on the 4-hourly chart in a second, there's barely any volume to get to the range highs. So forget about those patterns getting price targets above the range highs. Look at the horizontals, guys. Always focus on the horizontals. Just like I said here in this tweet, yes, we broke out on the daily chart out of a triangle right now and could potentially move up from here. But first, wait for the confirmation in the orange box. And of course, we closed at the top of the orange box and fell straight back down to the support. That's exactly where we're laying right now. Keep in mind that the 50-month SMA here sits right around 21,600 right now. And that's our target at the end of the month that we want to close back above. Now let's walk down to the weekly chart and look at the 200-week SMAs and the important support and resistance levels there as well. There you have it, guys. Marked in pink, and that's what I mean here. Our main resistance that we're experiencing, even though we see a neckline and an orange box on the daily chart, here we have it clear the 200-week SMA. That's our main resistance right now. And I'll take you back first to that one occasion where we spent consecutive weeks or multiple weeks below the 200-week SMA. The only time where we did it, apart from now, was back in 2015. And therefore, I take you back all the way here to, you can see it, 2015. So we fell below it. We stayed another week below it. So we had consecutive weeks closing below it, rallied back up, but that was just a fake out, fell straight back below it. And there you can see it. We spent 1, 2, 3 weeks below it previously. That's not the very first time that this has happened. And the one time we did fall below it in 2015, stayed below it, we closed a single weekly candle above it, confirmed that candle, and from then on we rallied back up to new all-time highs and put in the 2017 20K all-time high. So keep that in mind. Closing a weekly candle back above it and then confirming that breakout, that of course a very strong indication of not only that the bottom is in, but also that we're going to see a trend reversal very soon. Of course, that is the resistance right now. If you want to see my targets to the downside, the other bottom options that we have, make sure to check out my video series about bottom options for Bitcoin. Up here you can see part 1, just watch that and then go over to part 2, and then you will see exactly which levels I find to be the most logical bottom options for Bitcoin. But now let's move on to the daily chart and look at our targets to the upside there and see what resistance and support lays right in our range. And here we have it, guys, the daily chart and the trend version of the chart. Of course, guys, you know I have 3-4 versions of every chart to show you. Today I chose to look at this one, and this is because, of course, we came up here very close to the trend line now. The trend line, of course, the resistance line of the trend, coming all the way from the 48K top here, all the way down here to the current range. And what we're trying to do is break back above it. The most likely thing with the current volume and considering the market situation is that we keep on moving sideways here, potentially get rejected back again, and then we have to test the 19K support line here. The 19K support line is so important since it's our lowest daily close within the range. Closing below it would indicate that we're losing the range and going even lower back to the support line of the trend here, and that would bring us to the range that I told you guys about before, right around 14,000 and 10,000, a range of the ascending channel that we've seen on the monthly chart. Another trend that's been alive for over 5 years on the larger time frames for Bitcoin. But nonetheless, what we want to do here from a bullish scenario now is, of course, break back above that riffled line here and then go challenge the range above us. The ultimate definition of a trend reversal, right, is getting back above the previous range's highs. And that would take us here to 29K and 32K. A daily close here above 32K or 31,900 roughly would indicate that we're going for a trend reversal on the larger time frames. And that would then be visible on the weekly chart as well, which of course would be a very bullish sign for Bitcoin and an ultimate indication basically that the bottom is in for Bitcoin. Now, another thing that I want to point out here is, of course, a very bearish candlestick pattern here, a double doji. And a double doji at the top of an uptrend here is often an indication that the bulls are running out of steam in this case, and that the market is becoming undecisive. No one wants to take action, and that usually sends us back down to support then. The same thing happened here. You can see a double doji formation at the bottom, right on the support level, and that sent us straight back up to the resistance. So that is, of course, the bullish version of a double doji. Now we're experiencing the bearish version. And now this is basically it here on the daily chart as well. These are the levels that we have to keep our eyes on. And of course, I told you guys, focus on horizontals. Don't look at all these chart patterns. Most of these guys here on YouTube just use those chart patterns to get your attention as clickbait. And most of the time what happens so far, when there's really no volume in the market comparably, then these patterns tend to break sideways or to the downside. Even though we had a bullish continuation pattern, which I'll show you now in the 4-hour chart, it's very unlikely that we find the volume suddenly to break out from them to the upside. So keep that in mind. Until other markets, such as stock markets, don't start stabilizing, we can't forget that there's going to be huge chunks of money leading into crypto and Bitcoin, right? Therefore, always focus on the horizontals. Once we break certain range highs, that is the real confirmation that you're waiting for to see a potential trend reversal and to jump on board. Now let's move down to the 4-hourly chart. I want to talk about the continuation pattern, of course, that I just mentioned, and some other stuff, so you know what to keep your eyes on the smaller time frames when the futures open tonight as well, to see what is the most likely path that Bitcoin chooses. Here it is. I left it exactly like I posted it basically, so bear with me, I'll break it down for you. So the first most bullish thing that we want to look at, of course, is the bull flag here. And you can see we're still holding on to support right now. But that's exactly what I mean. So if we break out from here to the upside, then we take the measurement of the bull flag, but it's unlikely that it's going to get us to our price target. We still have to focus on the green box that's on top, which I marked here as main range resistance, range highs and neckline. And this, of course, coming here all the way back from when we had our last major dip and then tried to reverse the trend here and got rejected, and then put in our lows here at 17,500. So that's the main range that we want to get above. Forget any patterns, forget any triangles. I mean, of course, it's exciting to find those things in the charts, but it doesn't mean much unless we have volume in the market. Of course, if we form a bull flag in an uptrend when in a bull market, and those are the dips that our traders are looking to buy, right? People are taking profits, the price moves down a little bit. Then people start seeing that as an opportunity. They start buying the dip and the price keeps moving up. But currently we haven't seen any volume in the market. So it's unlikely that we break out of a bull flag here to those kind of price targets above our range that we've been struggling so hard to get above. So unless we get some positive news from the futures opening and from the traditional markets next week, we can assume that we continue in this range. Then the second thing that we need to look at, of course, is this ascending channel, of which we now have lost the support. You can see it marked with the red arrow. That is the line that we wanted to hold. We were just going along it here nicely, came then to the resistance of the bull flag, have been rejected, and that threw us out of that ascending channel, giving us more likelihood that we will continue here downwards towards plan B, the widening wedge support, in line with this very strong support resistance area previously of 20,300. You can see it down here. That was the area that for days we've struggled to get back above here. So we're trying to get support down here in this range. That is our last resort range to continue forming higher lows here. Right guys, and that's pretty much it here. These are the levels we want to watch. The white box at the bottom, we don't want to fall below 20,300. And what to the upside, of course, it remains the same targets here, right around 22,500 and 22,900. Those are upper targets that we want to close 4-hourly candles above to then indicate continuation to the upside, and our targets around 25K, 29K and 32K. Right guys, there you saw it. On the larger time frame especially, there we see very clearly where resistance comes from and what support is right below us. I'm talking of course about that trend line that could potentially be confirming now. And then of course also the 50-month SMA, an extremely strong historic support that we closed below for the very first time in history. Now we want to see, do we get back over the 200-week SMA or do we stay below it? We've seen historically there's only been one other occasion where we spent that much time below the 200-week SMA. So getting above it, of course, a very strong indication for Bitcoin to recover and go back to the upside. And on the smaller time frames, we've seen what's developing there, the double doji setup, something that I spoke about in the past, a very bearish candlestick pattern. And on the 4-hourly chart, we have to see which way we choose there. Do we stay in the aggressive trend? Do we continue in this bull flag here? Or do we get back down to the lower support levels, potentially forming in a higher low nonetheless? All things that I'm going to keep my eyes on and keep updating you guys about, of course. And yeah, I'm going to take it easy now. I'm going to go to the beach, cool down, take a dip as always. And for you guys, happy trading and see you very soon.